Hi, this is Leslie Barker, the director at the Bolduc House Museum at Main and Market Street. So I want to thank the community for coming to our various events, most recently the lecture on the history of chocolate that the American Heritage Chocolate Company did for us in February. It was a great time. We had a lot of people, even though it was only 16 degrees. We have their products in our shop. If you haven't been to see our shop in a long time, come on and see what Roseanne's been doing in there. She's got it looking really good. We've got quite a bit of local products and some local Bolduc House original products as well. Speaking of shopping, this season we're going to experiment with an open air market on the parking lot of the old First Bank building that we purchased about 18 months ago, and that will be a useful way to celebrate the 200th anniversary of a farmer's market in St. Genevieve. While it won't be a farmer's market per se, there'll be all kinds of goodies with a French colonial inspiration behind what we do. So that will happen on Saturdays and Sundays, and look for details to be forthcoming. Other things this season that will be happening at the Bolduc House Museum is a continuation of our transition to become New France, the other colonial America, at the Bolduc House Museum. So, we're moving towards more living history. The St. Genevieve Milice and all their reenactors come when we ask them, with their black powder rifles and their rope making gizmos and cooking outside and drilling. So it's always fun when they're around. If you hear gunfire, it might be in our garden. The garden is going to be beautiful. The first flowers poked up on March the 11th, a little snowdrop outside of the Linden House, and I'm sure that as the season finally recedes and winter gives way to spring, our gardens are going to be spectacular. Patty's been already working for weeks on getting the heirloom vegetables started in her greenhouse in the basement of the Linden House. As many of you know, we recently purchased the John Baptiste Valley House, that big yellow house on the corner of Main and Market Street, and probably by mid-May we'll be able to make that available to the public. Again, you'll have to wait for the actual timeline and details, but that's our expectation. Be a great place for you to visit history, the last commandant's house, where the transfer ceremony happened with the Louisiana Purchase, when the post of St. Genevieve was handed over to the American government, right there in the middle of our downtown. So that's a place with gorgeous rose gardens and lots of space to wander, and so we'll be holding some events there and making that available to people who want a space for a small gathering or a reception or whatever, besides telling the historical narrative of the Valley family under the colonial government. We're going to do another Moliere play. So far we've done 2, and they've been quite ridiculous and quite fun to attend. So this summer, we're going to do Moliere's School for Wives. It's the story of an older gentleman who's never married because he's concerned that he does not want a wife who will outfox him or be unfaithful in any way. So he's raised a ward since she was a very young child to be ignorant, and he's about to tie the knot with this woman who has no experience in the world or with anything, because he didn't want a wife who had any other assets than to be faithful and loyal to him. And of course, with Moliere as the comic playwright, this is just the introduction for a nearly slapstick comic tragedy that ends up with a twist. So that's going to happen the weekend of our 5th annual Louis Bolduc Day. That will be the weekend of August the 24th. And we know it might be hot, but I think we'll move the performance possibly to the bank parking lot. Possibly it'll be the last year to have it at the Linden House porch, but it's going to be funny, and you should come. That Louis Bolduc Day is our excuse for the first families to gather, and we're hoping to involve Bolducs and Pratts and Valleys and their descendants, LeMayeurs, anybody who has an ancestry that connects to one of our houses or even to the town. We're going to have a menu of very interesting activities that should be fun with a picnic-y kind of flavor. So mark that weekend for the Louis Bolduc Day. And of course you can always watch for events on our website. It's www.bolduchouse.org. You know, if you want to even have more information, our Facebook page, the Bolduc House Museum on Facebook, has all the information you want, plus photographs and ways to ask questions and participate in the conversation. So as you probably have seen over the last several years, we're changing how we do museums here at the Bolduc House. We're very excited about what's happening. We hope everybody comes and gets a taste and feels like it's your museum here in St. Genevieve. Of course, we're always available if you need community service hours, if you want to volunteer, if you want to train as a volunteer interpreter, you want to work in the garden, you want to work in our archives or collection. We have lots of opportunities. We're a fun place to be. Hope to see you all this year with your family.